what are you? A Bruce hair. No, that's an Ollie hair. Surprise. What is up, guys? Welcome back. So today we are going to be creating this look that you see right here. It is what I call a tonal rosy makeup look. Tonal makeup just means that we are sticking to a color palette, and today it's rose. I pulled a bunch of stuff from my collection today to share with you guys that's all in kind of the rosy family, and also some kind of rose adjacent shades that are going to help you achieve a more believable look. But the main thing that this video is concentrated around today is teaching you guys how I, as a complete amateur, okay, I don't call myself a pro. I would love to title this video, How to Layer Cream Blushes Like a Pro. How to layer cream blushes like the amateur that I am, the passionate cream blush lover that I am, and someone who very proudly wears way too much blush. If you want to see what's going on inside my head when I'm applying all of my cream products, the order that I do them in, the brushes that I use, the layering techniques that I use to keep it from going muddy, and the way that I basically achieve any of my cream cheek looks, then that's what you're going to learn in this video. So guys, if you do end up liking this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. And without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump in. We're so close to my face. So yes, new filming setup, new lens, new old lens. I used to use this all the time, and it does help get a lot more detail close to my face. Okay, before I just keep running my mouth, let's go ahead and jump in here. So I have two foundations that I want to start with, and we're just going to zoom through this. I am going to actually use the ColourPop Pretty Fresh. You know, you're lying awake at night sometimes, and you're like, wait a second. Those two foundations are really similar. No, that's not what you guys think about. So this is the Pretty Fresh from ColourPop, which is $14, I think. And the Bite Changemaker, that's $39.50. And this is, I think, 1.7 ounces, 1.45 fluid ounces, and this is only an ounce. Anyway, beautiful formula, love this to death, but that's pretty cost effective. It's a very, very good foundation. I'm also going to be sharing with you guys some of the Rowan lips today. I've been having this video in my brain for a while, but I got inspired because I finally tried the shade Charlie. And not only did it inspire me to use this today as my rosy lip, but also it inspired me to go ahead and buy the third shade because it's so beautiful. And also, guys, for everybody who was on my Instagram yesterday leaving me such sweet comments, but also being like, your hair is so long. These are extensions. I just have like one weft of extensions in, and TBH, they don't really match. They matched my blonde hair, and I've let my blonde hair grow out, and now they look a little bit sus. I was going to use the Honey Jarrett foundation because I told you guys that I was going to try this for you. It's like a K-Beauty foundation that they sent to me. It's the wrong color, like way the wrong color, and I believe that it is the fairest shade that they make. It's super, super yaller on me, and so that didn't end up working out. It's a beautiful formula though. Kind of upsetting, and I'm pretty sure that there are only like 2 or 3 shades. Kind of classic K-Beauty, you know. Look how freaking pretty that is. I love that so much. So I am not going to go in with the Pretty Fresh Creamy Concealer today. It dries down, and it doesn't allow for a lot of movability after that. So I'm going to go in with my Westman Atelier Vital Skin Foundation Stick in Atelier Zero, and this is what we're going to be using as my concealer today. Oh, also, there's some new stuff coming out from Westman Atelier, and they reached out to me and they're sending it to me. No strings attached. It's not a sponsored video. It's just like, hey, can we send this to you? And I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. And it's just been so much fun because they put one little Instagram post out where they're like, something fantastic is coming, and everybody's like, what is it? And I was like, I know what it is. I'm super excited. So there will be a video on that. All right, so I'm not laying down a whole ton of product here because I'm probably going to go back in and touch it up. I think the AC is turning on. My husband works up here too, and so he tends to turn it down to like 50. I'm gonna go turn it off. And because we didn't have to do very much, we can just move right into the layering of everything. So where I like to begin is the same place that I would typically begin in a powder look, which is with contour and bronzer. My favorite bronzer right now has been, it doesn't really matter which order you go in, is the Fenty one, the Butter Biscuit. Somebody messaged me on Instagram the other day and they said, Every time I use this, I hear you in my head saying "butter biscuit," and it brings me so much joy, and I was like, I'm so glad I could give you that gift. So we have several kind of ways you can go about brushes when it comes to layering cream looks or applying cream products or whatever. And for me, my favorite ones are just anything that's kind of short and densely packed, and these are the same brush. These are both the old bronzer brush from Thrive. They do still make this one. They also made a blush brush for a long time. They don't make this one anymore, and it is so good. But I'll use a different one today because this isn't available anymore. So good. I wish that they would just like market it as a cream brush and bring it back. But anyway, this is great for, I just used this one for my concealer, I think. So I'm gonna use this one. It's great for larger areas and diffusing color a little bit. And you have the choice when you're putting cream products on to dab or buff, right? And I like to dab first because as soon as you start buffing, the biggest thing that I find is when you go for too much convenience and you don't have the discipline to use separate brushes, your look just kind of ends up muddy and all one color, and you end up putting on more makeup than you really wanted to. And so I like to isolate it in one spot. This is a very non-Aries way of doing things, but I've had to force myself to be a little bit more organized, and then you can kind of go in and buff once you've got the product that you want. Now, when I layer my products, one of the biggest things that I do differently from like YouTube makeup, I don't isolate necessarily like these two parts of my face. I don't go, oh, well, this is white, and then I can't put anything below this contour line. I think that it looks so much more natural when you kind of treat your cheek, like your whole cheek, as if you're out in the sun, and just kind of keep that in the front of your mind the whole time you're putting on your makeup. You're looking at it and you go, does this look like how the sun would happen to me? Or am I kind of reverting back to a lot of the ingrained standards of, honestly, drag makeup? That's where a lot of that stuff comes from, is very much isolating these parts of your face and highlighting and contouring them in a way that you could see it, you know, from 100 feet away. That's the point of drag makeup. We're doing makeup that looks good in person. That's like what Trixie Mattel says. She says, you know, they say do your makeup for the person in the back row. She's like, I'm doing my makeup for the person at the check cashing place down the street. And it's like, that's awesome. One of the things that I do find is, and this is probably why I ended up with so much makeup on my dress that I was talking about in my favorites video, but you know, when I start bronzing, I find that, well, bronze is not something I necessarily come by naturally if I don't have any kind of fake tan going on. And so it is important for me to take this down my neck just a little bit. And I really don't have a whole lot of product on my brush. I should probably show you guys as I'm dabbing, but it is really like a dabbing motion. It's not like a swipe. I'm not picking up a ton of product. And bronzer, if you don't have a specific bronzer and contour in your collection, that's fine. You know, a cream bronzer especially, you can spread it out enough and get a diffused enough look that it can be a believable shadow. It's not that big of a deal if you don't have like the perfect temperature of product. However, I am going to be going in with both because I do happen to have the right temperatures of product on hand. I will definitely vouch for products that are kind of halfway in between. If you can find something that is powder or cream that is cool enough or neutral enough to double as a bronzer and a contour on you, then that can be the hot ticket for people on a budget. I definitely think that the Arrive bronzer, at least the light one that I have, is fantastic for that from a powder standpoint. And from a cream standpoint, I hate to break the bank, but the Westman Atelier Biscuit Face Trace Contour Stick is like the best bronzer contour hybrid color, especially when you've seen like the Salt New York contour shade that is almost gray. Make sure you get everything up in your hairline. That's the biggest thing, is just making sure everything is really, really blended and seamless. But the beauty, I think, of cream products, besides just the fact that they make your skin still look like skin, or skin but better, is that there is so much wiggle room. Like, it's never like frozen to the point where you can't just wipe it off. I mean, worst case scenario, wipe it off, but like blend it until you like it. So right now I look, you know, tan. Tan is not a natural look on me. I have to have a flushed cheek in order to make a tan believable. Think about your face and how you look in the scenario that you're trying to create. It's like, oh, what do I look like when I've had a little too much sun or whatever? What colors does your face turn? What colors do your lips turn? That is also, my lips turn like bright rosy pink when I've been out in the sun. So that's like part of what I keep in mind to try and create. So let's go into my Salt New York palette here. I'm actually gonna pull this pan out because I've gotten it so close to being empty that I really have to hold it in my hand to get product on the brush. Okay, I'm going in with this little Eco Tools brush. I don't think they make this specific one anymore, but they make, you know, a stubby cream brush. They always will. And this is so good for isolating that little contour area, and you can see that that is a different color than a bronzer. This is very, very cool toned. This is very, very, well, not very warm toned, but it's just tan, you know what I mean? It's a caramel color, and this is very much taupe. I always say when you're building a contour on your face, if you're in a place with like harsh lighting against a mirror, then you can just take a step back from the mirror and see where the shadows cast on your face. And that's where you are going to look the most natural if you put a contour. And then you can kind of iterate on that. Like if you're like me and you have a pretty tall forehead, a little bit more ambitious with where you put that contour or that bronzer to just kind of trick the eye and gently bring the forehead down without surgery. I'm also gently contouring my jaw here, but we're gonna do the double chin trick and make sure that it's really blended. And I had too much on my brush when I did that, so I'm gonna actually blend it with the brush that I had my foundation on. And also, I like to get right here on me because my ears are bright white, and then also behind my jaw. Ooh. And you know, then you can do like normal contour areas if you want your nose to turn up or turn down or whatever. So at any point, if you find that things are getting too pigmented, too muddy, always have your brush handy that had your foundation and concealer on it, your complexion color essentially, and you can buff that back off and just bring the light back. But we're just gonna keep going with blush here. I like to start with a cool toned, very pale pink on me first. That's how we kind of watercolor everything together, is by starting with a pale shade and working more towards saturation on the apples of the cheeks, or where if I were out in the sun would have probably flushed my cheeks and I would have had sun exposure kind of thing. That's not always how I go about it. Sometimes I just go right in with like a really berry color and I just place it kind of everywhere, and that's gonna give you more of a winter skin look. In my opinion. I don't know, like I said, I'm not a pro, but that's my Nordic child running through the fjords aesthetic. This is the same brush that I had the bronzer on. I don't think that there's anything tragic about mixing those two things. Kiki's products, the Salt New York palette, they are a tiny bit stiffer than other cream cheeks that I've used, and so I do sometimes prefer to go with a brush that's more densely packed and shorter because it's going to pick more product up, but we are just watercolor for beginners today. And you can see, look at that, that's so pretty. It's so natural looking. I like this because you can really layer her shades and they don't put a whole lot of actual product on your face. They have a dimethicone base to them, so they're really lightweight. I'm placing that pretty much, if my bronzer was here, I'm placing it kind of like here. We're making almost like a gradient towards the middle of my cheek. And then we can kind of throw, you know, if it starts to look like a bullseye or something, you can kind of throw that off with highlighter, or just doing a little bit more to embrace whatever your natural cheek shape is. Oh, also, if you're new to my channel and this is the first video of mine that you're watching, you're probably gonna be like, that looks fine with my blush. And anybody who's been here for a long time knows that there's like at least 3 more blushes coming. So the other thing that I do, again, to make it more like painterly and believable, is I put it on my forehead, because your girl's got a big forehead. There is absolutely no reason that if I were out in the sun that my cheeks would get rosy and my forehead would just stay tan. That's not a thing that would happen to me. So we're trying to create a believable scenario, but I am not leaving out, but I am kind of blending down and trying to stay away from my eyebrows. I don't want where the light hits to be like pink all the way down to my eyebrows, mainly because that's going to give us a big line of demarcation if that's the case. But also, you see right here, there's kind of like a, I don't know, almost like just a bald gap. And what I tend to do there actually is go back in with my contour. This is something I learned how to do on Kiki's channel, and work a contour right from my crease of my eye back to my temple. And it doesn't look like much, but it kind of gives you that foxy eye, and it sort of snatches your face just a little bit without looking like you have actually any makeup there, which is, boy, that's the dream, isn't it? Okay, so that was Rose from the Salt New York palette, and I'm going to move into a couple more shades here. So my favorite rosy tone, especially for a medium shade of rose that I think is adaptable to just about anybody's skin, is the Westman Atelier Baby Cheeks Blush in Petal. I've been trying to find a good dupe for this because I understand that it's very expensive. It's also a ton of product for the money, but also I said this in my like cream cheek roundup. Keep in mind, guys, you can use a lipstick. That's what this stuff is for, basically. Almost all of these things are lip and cheek products, and so they're basically just big old hunks of slightly less pigmented lipstick. So if you're in a pinch, or not even in a pinch, if you just don't want to buy a cream blush and you got a lipstick in the color that you want, just use lipstick. So I am going to take that smaller brush that we used for the contour because I want to isolate like a smaller area on my face here. Now I'm taking Petal, and look at that. We're getting true what artists call local color. Local color means the color that the eye perceives. We do a ton of work on the color on our faces that the eye isn't necessarily going to perceive, and that's also the point, right? Certain things like contour, we don't really want the eye to perceive that. You don't want to clock a contour. You want it to just be really believable, but I do want the eye to see pink cheeks, flushed cheeks on me. And one of the biggest, and I shouldn't say mistakes, but one of the things that I am really self-conscious about that I see all the time is this. It's like the white reverse raccoon eye that happens with blush. Always, I'm gonna say this over and over again, I guess, keep in mind the way that the sun would hit you, or the way that this kind of scenario would create itself naturally, organically on your face. Unless you were wearing goggles or something, which no one really likes that look, right? You wouldn't necessarily have this like isolated white area. Because the sun or the light like drops to here, you would still end up with a flush kind of at the bottom of your eyes right there. And do you see how just that little bit of stippling made such a big difference there? I think that we have been almost brainwashed, or at least I was for the longest time, by YouTube to believe that if you see any part of a dark circle, it needs to be covered up. It's wrong, it's embarrassing, it makes you look like you slept poorly or something like that. I'm here for your skin, and I want things to look believable, and sometimes that means letting things show through even if they're not our favorite part of our faces. And I pulled this out and forgot to use it, but the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector, I have it in the light to medium shade. Fantastic for color cancellation, if that's something that you're really concerned with. I'm not that concerned with it today. So you see, we don't really have that like harsh line anymore, and then we can also go back in at the end and just sort of blend it out with the complexion brush. I'm gonna do just a little bit kind of at the top quarter of my forehead right here, and I'm talking a little bit. This color is so beautiful. And the reason I'm tapping at this point is because we've layered a few colors. So I am definitely tapping with my brush, and you can trust most cream products are going to deposit if you do that. You don't have to wipe them onto your face. If you do, you're going to disturb everything that you just worked so hard at watercoloring and blending so nicely. I'm gonna let that live for a minute because my face is gonna eat it, okay? If you're unfamiliar with faces eating pigment, it's a thing that happens. It's not all the time or with all products. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know why my face does it with some products and not with others, but I've definitely noticed it with the Westman Atelier. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's like my cheeks just kind of soak the pigment up over about 5 or 10 minutes. And then when I get done with the rest of my look, I go back in and I put on a little bit more. And maybe more colors of things. Go nuts. Okay, I'm just gonna draw my brows in really, really fast here. Man, I'm always afraid when I do these kinds of videos that I'm not gonna have anything to talk about, and then I just run my mouth the whole time. This was actually originally supposed to be like a chatty get ready with me, and I was gonna be talking about all kinds of things. Turns out I'm way better at talking about what I'm actually doing than trying to talk about other things. Like, there's no way. There's no way. I'm not Raw Beauty Christie. This is the Eye of Horus pencil. I like this if you are one of these people like me who has this in-between color of hair and your eyebrows are that color too. It's almost like a green undertone blonde. Not blonde. Brown. Light brown. This color Husk is the color. It nails it. I'm gonna take the tiniest bit of powder and just set around my eyes a little bit. because it's going to allow me to put some like eyeshadow on. And this is just a little bit of the Ilia Soft Focus Finishing Powder. Because I have heard from a lot of people that the Rowan shadows crease on them, and I want to kind of help mitigate anybody who might have oily eyelids or something like that. Just go ahead and put a whisper of a really lightweight powder on there. What are you? A Bruce hair. No, that's an Ollie hair. Surprise. So this is the Rowan 75 Degrees Warm palette, and I am just using this because A, it's cream, B, it's this beautiful rosy color. But I am going to kind of take a brush and break it up with my blush color. And that's going to bring a little more pink into it because it's definitely pretty coral. I just love this because I feel like it really complements my skin tone. It's a color that like lives on me in a really natural, believable way, which is a weird thing to say about a sparkly like pink eyeshadow, you know? Just taking a Thrive brush here. I don't think it has anything on it. If it does, we're in trouble. And that's all the like actual laying down of that pigment I'm gonna do. Gonna blend it underneath my eyes too, because I'm just not that concerned about an eye look today, or most days. And then I am going to take a little bit of my Westman Atelier pink rosy shade, and I'm just going to bring that in, and look at that, like now it goes. And you can always sort of join up your shades that way. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is just go with a little bit more of the Westman Atelier Vital Skin Foundation Stick and pull a little bit of light back out everywhere. Not a ton. I'm literally tapping the brush instead of even wiping it and spreading that out on the back of my hand so that it's a really, really nice, like, diffused amount on the brush. Tapping that. And this is basically cleaning up. That's what you're doing. Especially if you're putting this stuff on with your fingers at all. I am not, you'll notice, a fingers girl when it comes to putting product on my face in most cases because A, it requires so much patience and I don't have patience. But also I'm just not that good at it, you know? Now what did I say was gonna happen? Did my cheeks eat that product? Yes, they did. So I am actually gonna go back in with a little bit of this, the Westwood Atelier, and just see if it gives me the effect that I want with that pop on the cheeks. And if it doesn't, you can kind of come in with something that's like peach and really bring a little more light into it. And it'll still read rose, you know? So I think that actually the secret ingredient here is the Kosas Velvet Melon. God bless, it was the first one I pulled out. Not often the case. And that's going to also help blend a little bit of that apricot-y color that's coming from my eyeshadow into the rest of my face. So this is what she looks like. Also a very beautiful highlighter. Again, really, really diffusing this out on the back of my hand. I think I just realized I used the wrong brush. Well, there goes the neighborhood. I'm using that to kind of bridge the gap a little bit between my concealer areas and the blush, because it's just such a believable peach color. Look at that, look at that, look at that. And everything just lives harmoniously together. And you would probably, while putting this on, be like, I'm putting on a crap ton of blush. I really, really am. Is this too much blush? The answer is no. You're going to look at yourself in the mirror later on in the day and you're gonna go, I am so glad I put on all that blush because I feel so pretty and so flushed and better than natural. So the next thing that we're going to do is, I'm just gonna throw some mascara on, I guess. Although a lot of you guys have been asking me to do my eyeliner on camera. I feel bad that I always like jump off and do it and I'm just like, guys, you know, I'm just wetting a brush and doing it. I'll go ahead and do it for you. I've tried this with a lot of different eyeshadows and you can do this with any dark eyeshadow, but I like the Thrive ones because they're crazy pigmented and they're waterproof. And so you can get away with a lot more. And you see I just licked my brush. Is that hygienic? I don't know. I'm not licking your brush. So I actually go in with this brown color because I feel like it reads still really dark on my face. And the way I go about it, and I have a really hard time explaining this, I'm really not sure how my face relates to other people's faces, but if I do like a cat eye upwards, it's gonna make my eyes look too round and honestly smaller. So I need to actually go completely like straight out at first, and it's going to make my eyes look bigger and farther apart. And I start by kind of stamping it because I really can't trust myself to draw like a perfect line. But like, look at the color impact of that shadow. That is literally just a brown shadow. And I stamp it into my lash line. And I take it out just kind of past my orbital, not my orbital, my eyeball, okay? Like I can feel the corner of my lid right there where it all connects. And then I see the curve of my eye right there, and that's where I want the point to come out. And I take it only about to the middle of my eyelid. Because if I take that all the way in, it'll make my eyes look smaller. I love this because it's a matte line. If I were to use something that were, you know, that patent leather kind of sheen, it doesn't look believable on me at all, and it shows every mistake, and I have lots of mistakes. And this, I feel like, is super forgiving. And I could never, ever get that precise of a line with a liquid liner. Fact, I honestly think one of my eyes sees better than the other one. And so when I close one to do the other, it doesn't always go as well. Gonna put on some Thrive mascara. This is also in brown. It is in Crystal. Oh, I love the way cream products look because like when the light catches my face, it's like I've put highlighter on, but I haven't. Not yet anyway. Wow, boy, that just makes me feel so pretty. I think I'm gonna go boy brow today. The best brow gel is the one that you can find. We're gonna do lips. We're gonna go with the new Rowan, and I'm so freaking excited. I wore this one in the last video, if you are interested in seeing it, and I will do another video probably where I show all three of them because I did order the gosh darn other one. But these are the first two. So that's Remy and Charlie. They look really, really like similar in terms of like darkness. I was not expecting that. I really thought that they were going to be kind of increasing in depth, and they're not really. Like this one's peachier, Remy is peachier, and Charlie is pinker. It's like rosy. So that's what we're gonna be using today. And I think that I'm going to use it with my mauve Wayne Goss lip pencil. Look at this freaking color. Very easy to work with amount of pigmentation in these. Like they're not clear, you know? We're not talking about like a light tint on a lip. It's definitely a color. But can I just say like how big a fan I am of the fact that we've moved away from dry down liquid lipsticks to lightly or even mediumly pigmented lip glosses, and that the brands that I love are experimenting with different formulas in them. Like it's just a love letter to me. I'm just like, finally, people are iterating on lip gloss. So this formula is super, super smooth. It feels absolutely wild on the lips. It's actually called Kiss My Liquid Lip Balm, and it is a much lighter weight formula than you're probably, you know, used to in a lip gloss. But because it's plumping, it gives the illusion of being self-leveling. We need highlighter, yes. All right, I'm gonna go in with First Christmas from Venix because it is my favorite cream highlighter that is also like a beautiful light pink color. Woo! Woo! She frosty. Gonna go in a little C shape right there from my brow bone down onto my cheek. And I think this will come as a shock to some, but I think I need a little tiny bit more pinkness, like true pinkness on my cheeks, and applying more of this isn't going to do it. It needs to be something kind of hot pink, like the Tower 28. Tower 28 Happy Hour. Taking the lightest hand. This is super creamy and also super freaking pigmented. Like, careful. And that is where we do our little pop, you know? You have a swish and you have a pop, according to Charlotte Tilbury. And you want just a little sunshiny pop. And this is why I like to own so freaking many cream blushes, is because I like to have the ability to go in with just a palette of like different variations of pinks and opacities and formulas and things like that that are going to give me the ability to play until I find what I like. All right, I'm gonna move you guys back out so you can see like my full situation. You can only be this close to my face for so long. So this is the look, and a lot of people have asked me this. They ask me, you know, how do you layer blushes? I do it in so many videos, but I never really explain what I'm thinking while I'm doing it. So I hope that this was helpful. If you have more ideas about how you would like to see makeup applied and explained in more detail that would help you get more out of your products, please leave me comments down below, message me on Instagram, what have you. I would love to know how I can help. So if you did enjoy this, guys, do give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you guys did. Make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I upload, because right now it's just kind of all over the place. I'm doing it as absolutely often as I can while maintaining my sanity. So definitely get the notifications. Thank you guys so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.